let's talk about something that's probably happened to every single trader out there. It's that incredibly frustrating moment you get caught in a false breakout. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why that trap exists, and even better, we're going to look at a powerful way to not only avoid it, but to actually use it to your advantage. It's all about understanding what the market is really trying to do. So, here's how we're going to do it. First, we'll walk through the trap itself, piece by piece. Then, we're going to pull back the curtain on the market's hidden fuel source. After that, we'll get into something called market imbalance. And finally, we'll put all the pieces together into a powerful strategy that is seriously going to shift your entire trading mindset. All right, let's dive right into section 1, the false breakout trap. We're going to dissect the anatomy of a trade that looks absolutely perfect, right up until the moment it all goes wrong. I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Has this ever happened to you? Because if you've spent any time at all looking at charts, I am willing to bet that this next little story is going to feel, well, painfully familiar. So picture this. You're watching the chart, the price shot up, made a nice high, pulled back a bit, and now it's creeping right back up to that same high. You know, it's that picture-perfect textbook setup. Everything in your brain is screaming, this thing is about to take off. And this is where the excitement kicks in. You see the volume start to surge. That candle gets bigger and greener, and your heart starts beating a little faster. Then it happens. The price smashes through the old high. That's your signal. You jump in, you hit the buy button, and you're ready to ride this thing to the moon. But then something feels off. The explosive momentum just fizzles out. The price grinds to a halt. You start seeing sellers pop up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden that rocket ship you just jumped on does a complete 180 and starts diving. Fast. And yep, there it is. The trap snaps shut. That trade that looked like a sure thing was anything but. And now you're staring at another loss. This is, hands down, one of the most common ways traders get their accounts wrecked. But here's the kicker. What if I told you it wasn't just bad luck? What if it was all part of the plan? And that brings us to section 2, the market's hidden fuel. Because this is the big secret. These frustrating moves, they aren't random. They're not accidents. They are absolutely engineered, and it all revolves around one single, powerful concept. And that concept is liquidity. Now, forget the dry textbook definition for a minute. I want you to think of liquidity as the gasoline that makes the market's engine run. It's not just some abstract idea, it's a very real target. It's the huge collection of everybody's stop-loss orders, and the big institutions, they hunt for it so they can fill their own massive position. So where do we find all this fuel? Well, just think about your own trading. If you buy, where do you put your stop loss? Probably right below a recent low. And if you sell short, right above a recent high. Guess what? Millions of other traders are doing the exact same thing, creating these giant, predictable pools of orders just waiting to be triggered. This right here is the fundamental shift you have to make in your thinking. Retail traders are taught to see lines on a chart, support and resistance. But the big institutions, they don't see lines. They see giant pools of fuel. They see liquidity. And once you start seeing the chart the way they do, believe me, the game completely changes. Okay, so liquidity is the first huge piece of the puzzle. But to see the whole picture, we need to understand its partner in crime. And that brings us to section 3, market imbalance. We're talking about something called a fair value gap, or FVG for short. This happens when the price moves up or down so fast, so aggressively, that it basically leaves a void behind. It creates an inefficient patch of price action that just didn't get traded properly on the way up or down. And the best part is, they're actually really easy to spot on a chart. You just look for a big explosive candle. Then you find the candle that came before it and the candle that came after it. The empty space between the wicks of those two candles, that's it. That's your fair value gap. Now, here's why this is so important. The market is kind of a neat freak. It hates these vacuums. It's always seeking to be efficient. So the price has this natural magnetic pull back to these gaps. It wants to revisit them to sort of correct the imbalance and fill in those missing orders. These gaps literally act like magnets for price. Okay, you ready? This is the moment where it all clicks into place. Section 4, the liquidity sweep strategy. We have our fuel, that's the liquidity, and we have our destination, the magnetic imbalance. Now it's time to build the engine. The core idea is actually beautiful in its simplicity. The market moves in a very predictable rhythm. It moves from an area of liquidity where it can grab fuel, and then it uses that fuel to travel to an area of imbalance to fix it. And then it just does it again, over and over. So let's break it down into a clear 4-step plan. Step 1, you become a detective. You scan your chart and identify those obvious pools of liquidity, those clean highs and lows. Step 2, you find the magnet. You look for a fair value gap on a higher time frame, either above or below that liquidity. Step 3 is the hardest part. You wait. You patiently wait for the price to come and sweep that liquidity and push right into that FVG. And finally, step 4. Once that FVG gets tested, you know exactly where the price wants to go next, to the pool of liquidity on the complete opposite side. Let me put it even more simply. Price raids the stop losses to fill up its gas tank. It uses that gas to drive to the nearest magnetic imbalance. As soon as it touches that magnet, it hits a U-turn and starts hunting for the stop losses on the other side of the range. It's a constant, predictable cycle. And all of this leads us to the most critical part, Section 5, a new trading mindset. Because what we're talking about here isn't just another strategy. It's a complete and total shift in how you read the market's real intentions. So let's just hammer home these core ideas. First, the market is always looking for just 2 things, liquidity and imbalances. That's its entire purpose. Second, the biggest, most powerful moves, they almost never happen on the initial breakout. They happen right after all that liquidity has been swept away. Which leads to the third and most important rule. Stop trying to trade the breakout. Start trading the reaction after the breakout fails. There's this one quote that sums up this entire concept perfectly. It goes, if you want price to go higher, you actually need price to go lower first. Now that sounds totally backward, right? But now you know exactly why it's true. It has to dip down first to grab all the fuel from the stop losses sitting there before it has the power to really fly. And that is the ultimate takeaway here. The market is not random noise. It's not chaos. It's an engine. And it's an engine that predictably moves back and forth between fuel stops, our liquidity pools, and repair shops, our imbalances. Your job is to simply learn how to read its map. So I want to leave you with this final thought. What would happen to your trading if you stopped getting run over by the market? What if you stopped fighting it and you started following the fuel? What if you started trading with the big institutions instead of constantly being the liquidity they're hunting for?